Welcome to Awards Heaven podcast. I'm Rob Lucuria.
And from the land of drunken raccoons, I'm Charlie Bright.
And for the land of ugly Christmas sweaters, I'm Tony Ruiz.
And I'm really excited today, everybody, to be talking about a whole bunch of really cool things like the LA Film Critics nominations. We're going to do a Golden Globes noms reacts. Quick revisit of sentimental value because I just feel like it's necessary. We'll also talk about what we've seen in the last few days, including Sirat, Jay Kelly, No Other Choice, what we're watching, and then top five Oscar snubs that still infuriate us. So let's move on straight away, fellas, to what your thoughts were on LAFCA. Charles, please regale us with your thoughts.
Um, I was actually surprised that we didn't hear Jafar Panahi's name as often as I thought we would. I thought LAFCA has always had a tendency to embrace foreign movies and sometimes just go in a completely counterintuitive direction. The one I always remember is well, I wasn't even alive for this one, but when Brazil won in Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay in 1985. Even though the film had not been had a formal release yet, as sort of a fuck you to Universal. Um, I mean, it's still, seems like one battle after another, and is out front there. Rose Byrne is continuing to solidify her place in this race. And who was the other lead performance winner? Was it Ethan Hawke?
It
It
was
was Ethan
Ethan.
Hawke.
He was your
It was
mate,
Ethan
Ethan
Hawke. Okay,
Hawke.
yeah. And so I think Ethan Hawke is cementing his place in the Best Actor race, and I think we'll get into this later, but I think it's very possible that we could see that as a potential upset at the Golden Globes. So it was really interesting. It's always fun when LAFCA votes because they always seem to be very fond of trying to throw us curveballs, but they really didn't this time. So yeah.
Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to dissect here. Once again, the one battle out after another coronation march continues. I was really thrilled that Train Dreams got cinematography, and I was really happy to see that LAFCA, bundles their lead performances, so it's not like actor and actress, and they bundle supporting. I did love Stellan Skarsgård winning for sentimental value, and even Inga Ib's daughter Lilias got a runner-up for supporting actress. But yeah, it seems pretty by the book to me. It doesn't really. The category that I still think is way up in the air is Best Actor. We have a lot of different winners coming across, and the Golden Globes really didn't help because they've got two Best Actor categories with six nominees each, and eventually we've got to whittle this down to five. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
That's right. Look, for me, it was just all about Rose Byrne continuing her run with all these critics groups as the best actress of the year. I don't necessarily think that means that she's the front runner at the Oscars. We've seen this happen before. Marianne Jean-Baptiste, high truth. But I feel like that it's a good sign. It can't hurt Rose Byrne. She has been acting for a very long time in lots of excellent films and TV series like Damages. I watched Spy the other night with Melissa McCarthy, and she is phenomenal in that film. So funny. And she's also really funny in Bridesmaids too. And I'm very happy about Rose Byrne. I want her to be the front runner. I feel like she's probably just behind Jessie Buckley. But I'm very happy about that. And offline, Charles and I were talking about Ethan Hawke and his real resurgence in the acting category. Sorry, in the lead acting category. Charles reminded me that he's never been nominated for lead actor before, which really completely bypassed my mind. So that's all very exciting. Thank you, LAFCA, for really boosting those two in the Oscar race. I'm also really excited. We're going to talk about Seurat soon, but Kang Ding Ray is a really fantastic electronic music producer and now composer. And I loved the music from Seurat so much. It's totally within my wheelhouse, and I'm very happy that he is now getting that recognition. So, LAFCA was good. Very happy with that. Let's now talk about the Golden Globes, though, because I feel like a lot of it was expected. We didn't, I don't think we saw anything that was completely like out of the ordinary, but there were some really good things that we can talk about and some egregious snubs. So, I'm just wondering, Tony, if you'd like to talk us through what were your initial highlight reactions from the Golden Globes nominations?
My first reaction with most things involving the Golden Globes is, eh. Um, I have so little tolerance for kind of the direction that they've gone in recent years, and the fact that there were no really big kind of like gasping moments. I guess you could say that the Cynthia, or not the Cynthia, was she nominated in lead
Yes.
actress? Okay,
Yeah, but not.
but it wasn't. It didn't. It wasn't nominated in Best Picture.
That's right.
It
That
was
was the
not.
big surprise.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a surprise. Um, it's interesting how I just think it's. I do think it's great how an organization that was previously run by the quote unquote Hollywood Foreign Press, now, since it's not the Hollywood Foreign Press anymore, has become even more international, um, which I love.
That's ironic.
On the TV side, it seemed to be just kind of a rubber stamping of the Emmys, and they still haven't solved the problem of, if you're going to go to all the trouble of creating categories that mean nothing, like cinematic and box office achievement, of which they nominated Avatar, which hasn't even come out yet. Um,
Demon Hunters. Did that have a big box office or
Yes, it did.
cinema?
no,
Yes, it did.
It
It,
did.
it,
yeah,
it did. It was the top of the box office for a couple of weeks. It was actually the
Okay,
thing. The sing along version is actually the thing that knocked Weapons out of the number one slot.
I take that back then.
but if we're going to have these categories like best podcasting that mean nothing, and stand-up comedy where they nominated Bill Maher, um, then why the hell can we not split the supporting actor categories in television into at least series and limited series? Can we at least do that so
Which
that,
they did. Which they did.
Remember they did,
yes,
Remember, 2 years ago they actually did it.
and then they went back.
yeah. So, I mean, the Golden Globes are fine. It's a campaign stop at this point,
Hmm.
and it's lost some of the fun that it had. So I really didn't take that much away from it. I don't think anybody's going to make drastic, or I don't think anybody should make drastic changes to their Oscar predictions based on
Hmm.
what did or did not get in at the Golden Globes.
Yeah. What about you, Charles?
I thought it was just interesting to see, like sort of like what was able to us make it in, actually make it in. I think that I think something that surprised me, I think, was Frankenstein getting in to both picture, best drama and directing. I was a little bit surprised about that, and but other than that, I mean, I really can't think of anything that really, stood out to me as something like this is like either making me absolutely elated or absolutely pissed off. So, I'll take that as a win.
That's a huge win. These are my scattered reactions to the Golden Globes, and it changes daily, depending on my care factor. But I just felt like the new podcast category ended up being a big nothing, and it's like, why are we doing this? Honestly, who cares? Wicked for Good, not in Best Picture or Best Director, is understandable because I don't feel like it was as strong as the first one, but it is still surprising because I would have bet the house that that movie was going to make it in, particularly in the comedy or musical category, where there are no musicals yet again. I'm surprised Sydney Sweeney didn't get nominated for Christie. I think now her campaign is effectively dead, which is a shame. Whether you like the film or not, or like Sydney Sweeney or not, I think it is objective fact that her performance is really quite good, and she's a good actor, and I feel bad for her, but life goes on. She's still extremely successful, beautiful, and all the other things, and I'm sure she'll be just fine. Um, I was really interested in seeing double Linklater films nominated. That's interesting to me. I was really happy to see The Girlfriend, the TV series from Amazon, make it into two categories, including for Robin Wright. That is a trashy, addictive, compelling show that is so deserving of some recognition. So good for them. Very surprised by Dwayne Johnson in The Smashing Machine and also Emily Blunt. Although Emily Blunt is really beloved, I think, by the people within the Golden Globes voting body. And her performance in that movie is fantastic. So good for her. And I'm very, very happy about the broad recognition of international and indie films across the board. So many to choose from. Neon is having such a good year. They could end up with four films in Best Picture at the Oscars. Like, that's insane in a good
They
way.
could have the entire international feature category.
Correct, and that would be totally fine. Um, One other thing that I was kind of disappointed about was Undercutting Sinners with only one major acting nomination for, obviously for Michael B. Jordan, but Wunmi Masako and Delroy Lindo and Haley Steinfeld did not make it in. Not a huge surprise, but disappointing for Sinners because I think that is such an incredible film, which I think will still do okay at the Oscars. So that's where I'm at with the Golden Globes. The TV side's a bit boring. The film side's kind of like things that we expected with a few misses and a few hits. Fantastic. Okay, great. It's a campaign stop. That's exactly right, Tony. So let's move on to talk about some films. Before we talk about the new ones that we've seen, I really just needed to circle back onto Sentimental Value because I watched it the other day finally. I was a little late to the party on this one. And I really wish I had seen it last week when we had Daniel on so the four of us could just continue talking about it for 4 hours straight because I'd be happy to do that. That movie broke me in a good way. It's one of the best films of the year by far. The actors are all incredible. Inga and Elle and Renata and of course Stellan. I'm just all four of them must be nominated. Uh, I just could not. I could not get it out of my head for days. I loved the way in which Joaquin Trier basically shows us this relationship breakdown between father and daughters, and how, particularly the older daughter and the father, she actually says, "We don't talk. We can't talk." And he knows that as well. And the only way he's able to get through to her is through his art, by writing a film that he hopes she'll star in so that they can bring that, which can then bring them closer together so she can maybe understand him and he can show her that he understands her. And the ending and how it becomes very meta and switches to something else that I don't really want to spoil just floored me. I can't wait to watch it again. It is an absolute freaking masterpiece, which I don't like using that word often, but this one definitely is. And I'll just say one last thing. I saw something on social media yesterday about Elle Fanning's performance and how she had the very difficult task of playing a part in which the character is an actor who is miscast and she's doing her best, but it's so obvious that that role is not meant for her. And then when that finally comes out towards the end, when she's dyed her hair and whatever, I just that is such a difficult line to manage, to navigate so beautifully. The music, the cinematography, the set design, everything about that film is 10 out of 10 for me, and I think it deserves at least 10 Oscar nominations. I'm so into it. Okay, anyone want to further comments about the film? Just just utter silence. Go
Oh,
ahead, tell me,
Tony,
what do
we
you
can't hear
think?
you.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
um, One of the things that you said to me, Rob, on text was that you were not, I don't think you were prepared for how good Renata Reinsve is in this
yeah.
film. Um,
Oh,
and I just, every time I see a clip of the film or I went back and I watched that opening scene of her backstage at the theater, and I'm like, my God, that that just
Yeah,
that sequence alone comes so into play. And what you say about Elle Fanning is so true. I think probably one of my favorite scenes in a film that I adore is the scene where Renata Reinsve and Elle Fanning sit in the theater and talk to each other, because it is such a strange dynamic. And that line that you're talking about of we can't talk to each other, uh, he's a great director. He'll bring out good things in you, but it's this daughter talking about her father.
yeah,
There's so many layers going on, and that's one of the things that I think is a through line of Joachim Trier's films, is that there's always this undercurrent. There's always so many things happening at once, and it actually makes me want to go back. I haven't seen The Worst Person in the World in probably a year or two, and I love that film. And now I want to go back and watch it again with this film in mind, because I want to see if now there are things that I missed that I didn't see before.
yeah. And Charlie,
I
what
mean,
I was, what
I echo everything. I don't think there's anything more I could say about sentimental
nothing
value.
that
I
you
think
can
it's, yeah,
say.
it's great.
I just feel like it. I think it should be more of a front runner, and I love the way it paints this picture of life in Norway, which is it's not. There's no stereotype. Joachim Trier always has these fantastical elements, just like Worst Person in the World did, and this didn't have until towards the end when I was like, okay, wow, and I'm in, I'm all over it, like white on rice. Give me more. I love it. Okay, let's move on. So we also watched Jay Kelly that dropped on Netflix. And I have mixed feelings about the film because I love what Noah Baumbach does. Generally speaking, I love his work. I think Nicholas Britell's score is absolute perfection. It's beautiful. I spoke to him the other day. He explained how many of the cues, when we're looking back into Jay Kelly's life, are actually written in reverse. He does it on tape, analog tape, to make it more subtle. He uses felt prepared piano to give it up more of a subtle vibe. It's luscious and beautiful, typical Britell score. Great. But the rest of the film just does not quite land for me. I loved the montage at the end. Everyone does. Beautiful. George Clooney's great. And Adam Sandler is really good. I can see why he's getting nominated now. I'm not as skeptical as I was before I saw the film. There are great parts of the film. It just didn't quite come together for me as a great film. That's how I feel about it. What about you, Charles?
I'm kind of on the same page. I kind of felt it was a little underwhelming when I saw it I guess it's about 2 months ago that I saw the movie. Um, it just, it just didn't hit for a lot of it. Just didn't hit for me. The ending I found moving. But also part of me is like, how do you're going to put all these great clips of Clooney's career, but you're not going to put in "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou"? What the fuck is wrong with you? Um,
Right.
I mean, at least we got the car explosion from Michael Clayton in there, you know. And I don't
Yeah.
think I don't recall any of his Descendants performance in there. Also, and I'm like, you're leaving out some of his best performances. What's wrong with you people?
Good
Um,
point.
yeah, I mean, and it's interesting that we have that this is another dynamic of like sentimental value, famous father disconnected from his daughters, and it's an interesting thing the way that it plays out. It just never really landed for me, so it's not something that I immensely disliked. I was just kind of mad about it.
What about you, Tony?
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on this. I wasn't offended by it, which we'll talk about with some of the other films. I didn't despise it. I just felt like, so what? A famous actor acts badly, and if you're gonna do this, tell me something or show me something different. Show me something that is going to catch me by surprise. I think they were kind of banking on the fact that a star as likable as Clooney is, that will be kind of the. But even as likable as Clooney is, even in this film, his character's kind of a jackass. And I'm like,
He's
why do I?
very unaware. He's very unaware
Yeah,
of his own faults.
Yeah,
yeah,
which I get. I just wish there had been more to it other than like, oh, okay, oblivious famous person has slowly and surely alienates everybody around him. And what's the point? You know,
yeah,
and as far as the performances are fine. I love how somebody say like Jim Broadbent can just have like one or two scenes and just be absolutely delightful. I mean, I just want
I
Jim
can't believe I
Broadbent.
forgot about him.
Yeah, I just
yeah.
want Jim Broadbent saying "darling" and making a sandwich on a loop. That
Yes.
I I'll watch that.
So
I'll watch that
comforting.
for 2 hours. I'll watch that for
Yeah,
2 hours. I think Sandler is fine. I think unfortunately, I think people still think that Sandler is still a comedian and not an actor. So I think he's getting bonus points for that, which I fine, okay, great. It's not a performance where I'm like, oh, I can't imagine anybody else playing this part. But
For me,
it's anemic.
thing
It's fine.
about that, I mean, the thing about Sandler's performance is I don't think the issue is his performance. I think the issue is with what is on the paper that he's been given. And
yeah.
while he does a really good job with it, it's just there's not enough for me to go like there was with Uncut Gems, like there was even with Hustle. Um, so it's that's where that fell flat for me.
Yeah. Billy Crudup though, he's so good in that scene where he reads the menu and he's crying. Like that's one of the best scenes of the year. If there's
That
like a
is one of
best
the best
scene
scenes for me.
category, yeah, that scene would be nominated. It's so wonderful. He is killer. If he had a bigger role, I think he'd probably be more of a contender at the Oscars and various other groups. I just feel like he's probably being overlooked and everyone's looking at Adam Sandler instead, and that's okay. All right,
But
so if we
again,
all
but
agree
again,
that,
if I can just interject something,
yeah,
again, one of my problems with this film is that sometimes it has the dual problem of I don't think the issues that it's tackling are that big of a deal, and number two, it does it sometimes in really heavy-handed ways. And to me, my problem is exemplified in the fact of why did they have to put Billy Crudup in that hairstyle? Why give him that sad sack hairstyle? It was completely unnecessary. It's like, hey, look at what a loser this guy has turned out to be. Uh,
mm,
you don't need the hairstyle for that, and that to me is one of the problems with this film is that just sometimes I felt like I was being hit over the head with something that didn't need it.
that's very perceptive. I totally agree with that as well. I can't stand it when films do that. Now, we're all agreement there. We're all in agreement there on the other one. Let's talk about Sarat because I know what's coming, and I'm actually really scared about what you're going to say because I really loved this movie, and I'll tell you why. And I know that this is a bit about my own personal biases, but obviously, for anyone who knows me knows that I'm really, really passionate about electronic dance music, EDM, if you want to call it that, house music, and so on and so forth. I go to lots of those graves, and I really enjoy them. And this movie is centered in that world, in the Moroccan desert, on this quest by a father to find his daughter on his way to the war-torn border with Mauritania. It's so beautiful to look at. I love the setting. I think the some of the actors are probably amateur actors, and they bring a really strange left of field vibe to the film. Canning Ray, as I mentioned earlier, his score is just breathtaking. I've been listening to it for days in my ears. The cinematography is stunning when, especially the shots of the cars or the vans driving through the desert during the twilight hours or at night. I get it that it's probably maybe narratively a little thin. It's based. Sirat is a tenet in Islam about. It's kind of like purgatory, where you walk a bridge, and if you're not worthy, you die, you fall off, and if you are worthy, you get through to the other side. And that is what this film represents. And towards the end, I was so tense and terrified of what was going to happen to each of these people that I was watching it like this. And yeah, I really loved it. I really did. It's just yet another foreign language film, like a film not in the English language that I'm just obsessed with this season. Like, what a year for film. That's where I'm at with Surat. Tony, it didn't work for you, did it?
No, I hated it. Um, I actively despised it, um, and for a couple of reasons, and some of them are connected to what you just said. Um, Now, my bias is that I absolutely hate electronic music. I hate dance music. I hate all the variations of the same fucking. It bugs the shit out of me. I was like, I could listen to a metronome and get the same feeling. Um, uh, but that aside, um, the first 45 minutes of this movie, I'm like, okay, I don't like this music. I don't really particularly care about any of these dirty, disgusting people who are in desperate need of a shower and a shave. Um,
Oh
I,
my God.
you know,
You elitist snob.
I don't care about the desert and the dirt. In fact, that is like, like the whole first 15 minutes of this movie at the rave would be like my idea of hell because
That's my heaven.
it involves all things I hate. I hate electronic music, I hate being dirty, and I hate lots of people. I hate all of those things. Um,
I love
so,
it.
Well, I
Okay.
but
guess
I
we're
can
not sending you to cover Burning Man next year, are we?
We're not sending you for that. God.
in hell. So, but
Um,
I can overlook that kind of stuff if it's for a narrative purpose. My problem is, and I'm just warning everybody now, we're going to spoil some stuff in this film.
yeah, so
Um,
look away.
so look away, watch it whenever it comes to an art house near you if you want to, and we'll come back and talk about it. But for me, this film was much ado about nothing until it turned into misery porn. Um, I felt like the whole thing about searching for the guy's daughter, what that was the inciting incident of the film, and it's tossed aside. Who cares? We don't care where the daughter is after a certain amount of time. And then to then become a movie where I'm just watching misery experience after misery experience of a father having to watch what happens, and I am going to spoil it, when the son rolls off the cliff and dies.
Believe it. I was like,
Yeah,
See, I
no.
went, I said, fuck you. This is supposed to make me emotional. This is making me angry. And it's not just angry because the kid is dead, it's angry because the dog is dead. And we're going to skip the whole part where the dog got accidentally high for eating shit that was laced with with LSD. Fuck off.
yeah,
That's animal abuse and I don't go for that.
yeah,
It would and then to have this climax of them taking psychedelics and being in the desert and then to switch to a landmine thing, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. What are we doing here? Why are we doing this? And I get the idea of worthy, unworthy, but the problem is that this movie doesn't make me care about any of these people enough to decide what's the guy's name with one arm, Biggie or something like
yeah.
that.
Biggie, yeah,
DQ or
something like
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
what makes Jade unworthy? What makes Biggie unworthy?
No idea. Mm.
Why? And then we get to the end, and I'm no more understanding of why we went through this in the first place. To me, this was not a film for me.
No.
Um, this was not a film for me. I didn't understand the point. I still don't understand the point. And if the point is to kind of be a visual illustration of this ideology, it failed miserably in making me understand that point. Because if the whole idea is worthy versus unworthy, crossing this bridge, that you're not presenting me any reason why one is more worthy than the other. Because at the end, it just looks like, well, shit happens, and then you either live through it or you die. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew that already. I didn't need this film to tell me that.
That's a really good, you know what? Some of your criticisms are really valid. I totally actually hear you and agree with you that I didn't care enough about some of the dirty, gross people who died. But what you just said to me is so profound that shit does happen, and ultimately who gives a shit? Like that is life for some people, and it's so inexplicable, unexplainable, and so I'm kind of down with that. But I hear you, Charlie. What do you think?
I love being able to play tiebreaker here. I'm in the middle, but slightly leaning more towards where Tony is. I Listening to the first of all the soundtrack and seeing the scenes, especially where they're smoking weed in in their trucks as they're driving, reminded me of the first time I heard dubstep music, and it was while I was smoking weed in my frat house at George Mason University. And when I first heard it, I was like, oh, I hope when I heard about a dubstep remix, I was like, oh, and it has 90% more wub wub in this mix. Um, uh, Cowdell forever. Um, um, I thought it was interesting, like where it was going, and like that first like hour and 15 minutes, where even after as it was straying away from the guy looking for his daughter, the idea of these people, just sort of coming together and being this kind of collective. I thought that was interesting. And then the sun rolls off a fucking cliff, and I was like, dude, what the fuck am I watching here? And then the landmine thing, and it just happens. And first of all, I did think it was funny that the first landmine goes off when the one woman goes, blow it up.
Yeah. Oh my
I thought
God.
that was
Yeah.
very
Paula
fun.
laughed out loud.
I thought it was very funny. But then I was thinking to myself, wait, is this something that they're tripping on? Is this an illusion? Is this them tripping? And yeah, it's not. Um,
It would have been
it's
more
just
interesting if that's what it was.
yeah, but that would have to be direct. That would have to be directed by Gaspar Noé. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like Climax was. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I was befuddled at how this won the jury prize from the same jury that gave the Palme d'Or to It Was Just an Accident in the Grand Prix to Sentimental Value. Um, I was left very empty from this movie. It reminded me actually kind of um, remember the really bad year of the Oscar nominated live action short films, and one of them was that movie Fauve, or Fauve, about
Yeah. Yeah.
the sulfur mine, where one of the kids just drowns in a sulfur mine. It kind of reminded me of that. That's what I got a lot of echoes of when I was watching this.
Wow. You know what it reminded me of? 2017 film called BPM, Beats Per Minute, and it was a French
Yeah,
film. It was like an AIDS drama. The
I
music was
love
really
that.
similar. Yeah,
I
great
love that
movie.
movie.
Arnaud Rebotini was the composer. Really fantastic house music. Kind of reminded me of that. But anyway, look, I loved it. You guys, or Charlie, you're in the middle. Tony, you hated it. That's okay. That's good. That's good that we don't always agree. And speaking of maybe not always agreeing, let's now talk about No Other
By the way, hold
Choice.
on, Rob. Did
Yeah.
you like at least the West Wing picture still I sent you? Just stand of Joe of Bartlett saying, just stand there in your wrongness and be wrong and get used to it.
Yes, I did. I love that. I love it
I
when you get all
enjoyed that very much
sassy.
as well.
Sassiness is one of your best virtues. Both of you. No Other Choice. So this is where I begin with No Other Choice, and then I'll get to where I get at the end. So I love the cinematography. so much that I think it deserves to even win. The costumes, the sets, the whole look and feel of this film is absolutely 10 out of 10 stunning. I was just blown away by Park Chan-wook and what he was able to achieve in its visuals. The sound is fantastic. The original score is beautiful. Lee Hyun-bung is that his name? I've forgotten his name now. The guy from Squid Game as well. He's fantastic. He is Oscar worthy. Um, and the first half of it is really good. A real indictment on capitalism, I guess, and the working man, and your place in the world, and how your identity is. So many people, this identity revolves around what they do for a living. All of that is great, and I felt like this was a really good like successor to Parasite. Okay, that's where I was at, and then it just drags a little for me, and it gets really silly. The violence was a bit too much to take, and I felt like by the end of it, I was like, really, what was the point? Why? I just didn't see a justification narratively as to why he had to go to such extremes. I know it's a satire. I know it's not supposed to be real life. It's not a documentary, but I didn't buy it. I don't know why. Maybe one of you can explain to me why. Perhaps maybe it just didn't really click for me. But that's where I sit with no other choice. Loved parts of it. It's like a 3.5 star, 4 star film, but I'm not sure if it's going. I'm not sure if it's one of the best films of the year. What did you think, Charles?
I liked it. I did like it. It had it definitely had that echo of the tone of Parasite. Definitely. And I will say, above all, I did find myself laughing throughout a lot of it,
Yeah.
which I think was the intended thing. The weird, I still don't know how I feel about that last elimination, shall we call it? Because that one felt a lot more sadistic than the previous two did. Because in the way that it's carried out. Um, uh, but overall, I did think it was. I thought it was good. I liked it. I wasn't in love with it, but I like it, and I think and I do like that there are all these artistic things coming out of South Korea about
Yeah.
about corporate consolidation and greed and the 1% and all of that. I think that's very I think that's a really interesting thing to be coming out of South Korea at this time. So yeah, and I thought oh God, what's his name? Uh, Lee Byung-hun. He I thought was incredible. I thought he gave a fantastic performance.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Tony, what about you?
So, the order in which I watched the films this week is I watched Jay Kelly first, and I didn't care for that. But then after watching No Other Choice, I thought Jay Kelly was not as bad as I thought. Then I watched Surat, and I realized no, I didn't hate No Other Choice as much as I initially did. Um, so that kind of tells you where my brain went this
Wow.
week. Um, I agree with you about the look of the film. I think, Park Chan-wook, who has made two of my favorite films of all time, Snowpiercer and The Handmaiden. I love those films.
Snowpiercer was Bong Joon-ho.
Oh
Was it?
yes, it was. But I do love The
Yeah, I'm pretty
Handmaid.
sure that was Bong Joon-ho.
Okay, maybe it's just The Handmaiden. But I do love The Handmaiden. Um, in any case, I liked probably the first 45 minutes of No Other Choice, and then it just fell off a cliff for me. Because I felt like it was trying to, I think for this film to be successful, it needed to go the full satire route. And I don't think it
Yeah.
did. I think it tried to pull its punches and be in, and I completely agree with you, Charlie, about that last elimination. I was like, why are we watching this guy who's supposed to be our protagonist and who we're supposed to kind of identify with why are we watching him turn into a monster? And I get kind of the message that, capitalism can take somebody doing something and make them into a monster, but I felt like the jump to that level of sadism was unwarranted and uncalled for. Um, and then on top of it, this film started to get on my nerves when like the fourth or fifth time that somebody used the title of the film in the dialogue. Like, I have no other choice. I have no other choice. I get it. That's the title of the movie. Stop
Oh
hitting
my.
me over the head with it. Stop it. And then there were just some weird directorial choices that I don't get. Maybe I needed to be high or something to understand. Like, when the sun is like miniaturized on the bonsai plant, I'm like, what? Why are we doing this? I don't get it. Why? What are we doing? Um, you know, there were just parts I was like, these people are really bad at hiding bodies when they're digging like covering a dead body with maybe an inch of dirt. I'm sorry, that's going to
What
wash
are you
away really
doing?
fast. Um, and then by the end, we're supposed to kind of be celebrating this guy, or are we supposed to be celebrating this guy? Because I'm like, no, you're a monster, and you are now in this. Yeah, maybe you got what you wanted, but you know, the film. I don't think the film really made me feel like it had a perspective. It just wanted, or whatever perspective it wanted me to have, I didn't have. Uh,
Yeah.
so it just didn't work for me. I found it about halfway through, it just became kind of overbearing, and it kind of did for me what Promising Young Woman did to me, which was, I get the point that you're trying to make, but the execution is so heavy-handed that I don't care. Like by the end I was starting to feel like more sympathy for the corporate overlords.
Yeah, yeah. I think you just hit the nail on the head because by the second half, I was like, I'm not rooting for this guy. I think he's a dickhead. I don't care anymore. I love what Park Chan-wook's doing artistically, loved it. But the narrative, I was just like, nah, I'm not in. I'm not coming along for this journey. Sorry. I think you're right. Wow.
But I did love the Golden Retrievers. The Golden Retrievers, A plus.
Beautiful. A plus. There's one shot where he's drinking a beer and the camera follows the glass and then it goes from inside the glass looking at his face. I was just gobsmacked. Wow. Cinematography off the chain. Okay. So that's what we've seen. What are we watching anything interesting on TV? Because frankly, I'm not. All of my time right now is just on writing articles and working and watching films. So that I have nothing to say. What about you, Tony? Anything interesting you're watching on TV?
I did just start, based on a recommendation from my sister, the P Diddy documentary produced by 50 Cent,
Oh yeah.
and it is such a hit piece, and I'm here for it. It is bonkers. It is crazy. It is like, you know, it makes no apologies for being one of the most vicious hit pieces I have ever seen. And I think it's inarguable that Diddy, Comey, Puffy, whatever the fuck his name is this week, incarcerated is what his name is.
Yeah.
I think it's inarguably deserved, but just the ballsiness of what is going on. I've only seen the first episode, and
Oh,
I'm actually, as soon as we're done recording this, we're gonna have dinner, and I'm gonna start episode two. My parents are watching this with me, and it's really fun to like hear clips of like these you know bad boy songs from when I was in high school, and my
yeah.
mom is still sitting on the couch, dancing and all this kind of stuff, going, "I hate this music, but I can't help but dance to it."
Yeah.
It's truly an enjoyable family experience.
Wow. That was they should just put that in an ad for the film or for the series because now I want to watch it. I love a good hit piece. 50 Cent, what? That's very ballsy. He's obviously not worried about being sued, although if you're telling the
No, he's
truth,
not, and he's been making the rounds, and he is that his PR journey on this film. You know, all of his PR stops. He is unapologetic in like basically coming at Diddy with a rocket launcher. It's fantastic, and I'm here for it.
our colleague over at Gold Derby, Denton Davidson, interviewed him recently, and I suggest everyone give it a go, give it a look because Denton's such a great interviewer, and yeah, I'm really interested now. You've really piqued my interest. Okay, what about you, Charles?
So last night I finally watched Weapons.
Oh,
Um,
finally!
and I don't think I have laughed harder at any movie than I did at the last like 5 minutes of that movie.
So
You can tell Zach that this is the guy Zach Kreger who came from sketch comedy. He's actually from right where I am, Arlington, Virginia, is where he grew
oh
up.
yeah.
I thought at first that he went to one of my rival high schools, and I didn't like that. But it turns out he went to a prep school in DC. So, what's interesting, what I really found interesting about it was reading stuff afterwards and seeing, because I kind of got it, but it became much clearer afterwards that the whole thing was a metaphor for what alcoholism does, because Zach's, I believe his father passed away from cirrhosis, and he also his lifelong friend who he created the Whitest Kids You Know with, Trevor Moore,
Mhm.
died. He didn't die of alcohol, but he fell from a second story roof and he was drunk when it happened. And so and he was writing this in the aftermath of that and amidst his grief with dealing with Trevor's death. So I thought I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was a great movie all around. Amy Madigan, give her everything. She's so incredible in that movie. It reminded me it reminded me what I loved about her performance was it reminded me so much of Ruth Gordon's performance in Rosemary's Baby, but
Yes.
it was its own thing. It was its own thing, and I just absolutely loved it. I thought it was great.
I really do, and you guys tell me if you think I'm full of shit. I mean, you would anyway. But I think she's gonna win.
I agree.
I I can
I would
see.
not. That would not say that. I think that's a very. I think that's a very possible thing. I don't count. I don't count it out as a possibility. And what I actually think is actually very interesting is at the Globes. I think all of us have Sinners winning the box office category. I'd watch out for Weapons though. Weapons, I feel, could pull that one off, and I would be here for it.
Well, Tony, why do you think I agree with you? Well, who's her main competition? Because I feel like this is a performance that will last, that will stand the test of time. People will still be thinking about it in decades to come, and people will be dressing up as her at Halloween. It's one of those, definitely.
Yeah, and that's why I think because if we think that the nominees are going to, I mean, I think her biggest competition is Tiana Taylor. Um,
Yeah,
Yes.
as much as I love, you know how much I love Inga.
yeah.
I just
She's
love her so much. But I think that Tiana's the one thing that I think could clear the path for Amy Madigan is the fact that Tiana is missing for so much of One Battle After Another.
yeah,
Whereas Amy Madigan has this huge narrative. This is the character of the year. Gladys is the character of the year. You don't have a character like that and not get some kind of reward on top of the fact that it is a critical success. I think Weapons could get in at original screenplay. Um,
Hmm.
I think that she has the veteran narrative, and I just feel like that's the kind of thing that could just be a super popular winner.
yeah. She's so good in this movie. I love this movie. This is definitely a top 10 film for me, and I want her to win so badly. Um, Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm really glad that you both loved it as much as I did. It's a great movie. So, yeah, speaking of amazing performances in horror films, that's probably a good segue to where we're headed. And no spoilers, of course, but I think you know where I'm going with that. Um,
Mhm.
our top five this week is top five Oscar snubs that still infuriate us. Now, this is not about, I really love movie X, and movie X did not get nominated. That's not a snub. Okay? A snub is where all the tea leaves and the precursors and the critics and the fans all were like, this has got to be nominated. This is an amazing performance, or this is an amazing achievement. And then the Oscars are like, I'd rather nominate that mediocre piece of crap. That's a snub. Okay? So, over to you, Charles. Please do us the honors and let's go through this. I'm very, very excited about where this is going because I have so many choices that I had to whittle down. It was actually giving me anxiety.
I do not. I second that emotion entirely. So, top five biggest Oscar snubs that still grind our gears today. Tony, give me your number five.
Okay, so my number five uh, is the oldest film on my list is Donald Sutherland being ignored for ordinary people. The film that is was the Best Picture winner, won supporting actor, won directing, won screenplay. You know, it got nominations. It got two nominations for supporting actor. It got Best Actress. But Donald Sutherland, who has the climactic scene in the movie, one of the most heartbreaking scenes in any drama I've ever seen, the scene where he tells Mary Tyler Moore that I'm not sure that I love you anymore, and I don't know what I'm going to do without that is such a heartbreaking scene. How he was not nominated in what eventually became the Best Picture frontrunner is beyond me.
I really feel like you could just extend that to Donald Sutherland, period. Because
Mhm.
he's given. I mean, I would have loved to have seen him nominated for Best Actor for MASH or Supporting Actor for JFK instead of the two people that got in for JFK. Yeah, for one scene, and he's incredible in that scene. And yeah, so it makes no sense. Rob, number five.
Okay, so most of mine are actors. In fact, all four of my top four are actresses. Actually, just happens to be that way. But my number five is an original score that I had to throw in because of my obsession, obviously, with film music, and that is the original score for Cloud Atlas in 2012. Johnny Klimek, Tom Tykwer, and Reinhold Heil were not nominated. Back then, I think because the music branch had a real aversion to nominating co-composers for some reason. So ridiculous. Now they don't care anymore, thankfully. It was such a boys' club even up until then. And the nominees that year were John Williams twice. Why? For Warhorse and the Adventures of Tintin. Alberto Iglesias
Wasn't
for
that a
Tinker.
2012 release?
Yeah, 2012. Oh, yeah, 2012. Is that what I not said?
Yeah, well,
Uh,
the ones you're talking about, the Warhorse, that's the previous year. That's 2011.
oh, I'm sorry, my bad.
But John
That
Williams
being,
was
look,
nominated that year for Lincoln, so I mean, you're not that
that's
far
right.
off.
I meant Lincoln. I'm sorry, my bad. I'm looking at the wrong list. Cloud Atlas is such a beautiful score. It's a great movie, actually. It got nothing. It was my number one film of that year. That score is beautiful, and it was just completely snubbed. And I feel like it should have been nominated. This is one where there was a lot of talk back then. I remember that it was a score that really deserved to be nominated. It was getting a lot of heat. It got a Golden Globe nomination, which, by the way, doesn't necessarily mean anything. We know the Globes score category very rarely matches up with the Oscars, but it did have some heat. It did have some support, and it just got nothing. And that really still grinds my gears.
My number five has seen it all. It's Bjork for for her performance in Dancer in the Dark, Best Actress 2000. You know, the critics did even critics that did not like Dancer in the Dark were unbelievably supportive of her performance. And she did get a Golden Globe nomination, though for some reason they put Dancer in the Dark in the drama category, not musical comedy, even though it is a musical. Um, it There's so much about that, but her performance is so incredible. It's it's raw. It's you realize, especially in hindsight, knowing what we know now about her experience in making this movie and how what Lars von Trier put her through, there's still something to of what that performance that he got out of her. It's incredible. It's devastating. It's something that I will never forget being completely blown away by, and rewatching it several times because I'm such a masochist. I I really really love that performance, and the fact that Juliette Binoche got in for Chocolat over her, like that could have been. I actually did our old colleagues Kevin Jacobson's podcast about the Best Actress race for this year, and I said if you take out Juliette Binoche and put in Bjork, one of the best lineups that's ever been in that would be one of the best lineups we've ever had in that category.
Wow. You know what, Charles? Like that film really devastated. That was my number one film of that year as well, and
Mhm.
I haven't been able to watch it for a very long time because of how much it deeply affected me. Like, I was very, very upset by the end of that film.
Oh, I
And I,
was a sobbing,
yeah,
a vocally sobbing mess the entire last like 20, 25 minutes of that movie.
shocking. And that's what when a film can do that to you, that is something. And that was all Bjork. And I feel like she wasn't nominated because they just didn't take her seriously. They thought she was just some silly old pop star from Iceland, and no, not at all. And then she's on this wearing the swan dress and she sang, and it was all that's what she's now remembered for. But that performance, one of the best. And yeah, I totally agree with you.
Tony, number four.
My number four is Jim Carrey for The Truman Show.
Ooh, I can't believe
Oh,
I forgot
oh, that's a
that.
good one. Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I think when I remember when he won the Golden Globe for that, and even Lauren Bacall, who was presenting, was shocked. And Jim Carrey was shocked and gave one of my favorite speeches at the Golden Globes. He's like, "Oh boy, it's going to be so hard to talk out of my ass after this," and then dropped one of for awards nerds like us. One of my favorite lines is, "You know what this means, don't you? I'm a shoo-in for the Blockbuster Award." Um, It's such a great line. And then proceeded to give a very humble, very beautiful speech. And to show what a class act he is, even when he didn't get nominated, he showed up and presented at the Oscars that year and, did a shout out to Roberto Benigni. And that's a whole nother podcast. But yeah, that I'm still angry about that, especially considering how prescient the Truman Show was.
That movie really holds up. I watched it about 6 months ago again, and he is phenomenal. I agree with you, Tony. And in fact, the Oscars have really mistreated him. He should have been nominated for Man on the Moon as well. Like, what the
Oh
hell?
yeah.
What did he do wrong? I don't get it.
He talked out of his ass.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but so did Jack Nicholson when he won the Globe for As Good as It Gets, and then he went on to win the Oscar.
Right. Read my lips. I know, totally. Okay, my
Rob,
number
you're number
four
four.
is quite recent, and that is Katrina Balfe for Belfast. And the reason why I'm so annoyed about it is she received nominations at the Globes, the SAG Awards, Critics' Choice, BAFTA. That's a pretty good run. That meant we were all convinced that she was locked. Okay. And then what happens? Judi Dench gets the nomination instead. And love Dame Judy, don't get me wrong. And she's great in Belfast. But I just feel like maybe there was a debate within the Academy voting block about whether Katrina Balfe was lead or supporting. That's really where what I blame it on. And there was probably a bit of a vote split with Dench as well. And Academy voters do tend to favour established legends like Dench. So I understand it now, but at the time I was so devastated. And on a personal note, because I've spoken to Katrina on many occasions, both in interviews and offline and in DMs and whatever, like I know her, and she's such a trooper. She totally took it in her stride, typical pro. But I can imagine that it would have been very disappointing because it was a moment that she was looking forward to, I assume, and she didn't get that moment. And it's a real shame because it's a really, really beautiful. I think it's the best performance in Belfast. She brings that movie all together emotionally, and I'm still getting over it. And all of us Outlander fans out there, we will never forgive.
My number four, 2013 best, or was it 2014? I can't remember which one, but best animated feature, the Lego movie, missing out for best animated feature is one that was just like, what the hell? You know, I mean, I know they do. There's like some live action parts towards the end, but it was still an incredibly made movie. Lord and Miller were at the height of what they do, and this was a statement film because I remember when it was first announced, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? A Lego? You're literally just going to call it the Lego movie?" And it ended up being one of my favorite movies of the year. And at least they got the song nomination, but still, it missing out in animated uh, feature and Big Hero 6 winning. It really just that still stings, man. That still stings. And I remember being visibly shocked that morning when that title was skipped over. Ugh.
Yeah.
Tony, number three.
My number three is Uma Thurman for Kill Bill, but especially Kill Bill Volume 2. Um,
Yeah.
and I know that, maybe this is probably the most kind of like barely a snub, but that performance was such an absolute, just perfect performance to anchor a film, and especially in volume two, where we get everything. We get everything that this character has been fighting for, the whole reason. And I think a lot of people forget she was nominated at Critics' Choice. She was nominated at the Golden Globes. She was even nominated at the BAFTAs for the first film. So it wasn't out of the realm of possibility for them to do it. And I think if Kill Bill had come out today, I think that there's a cool factor with it that I think back in 2005, it wasn't the cool factor. So it still
Good
bugs
point.
me.
That's a good point.
Rob,
My number
three.
three is one that really cuts deep for me, and that's because Amy Adams is the heart and soul of Arrival 2016. That movie is in my top 10 of all time. I think I've seen it 20 times, and I still can't believe that it received eight Oscar nominations. I think it won for sound editing or sound mixing. I can't remember which one. And
One editing.
editing. And it's such an outrage that she wasn't nominated for that performance. She's so good. Now, I get it that maybe there's some speculation about she could have been nominated for Nocturnal Animals that year. It might have diluted her votes. I don't know. I really don't get it. I don't get it. Everyone loved that movie that year. There was no controversy. She was in. Doesn't get nominated. It still doesn't make any sense to me. She's still Oscarless. And it really pisses me off. I'm not happy about that at all, and I'll never get over it.
My number three might cause some debate as to whether it truly was a snub, but I think there was a path for it to get nominated for Best Picture, and this is 2008. Wally should have been nominated for Best Picture in 2008.
Totally
Now,
agree.
now, if you look at some of the critics' prizes, especially, and not like I was joking a couple weeks ago, Greater Michigan film critics. I'm talking Chicago. I'm talking Boston. Both of those not only nominated Wally for Best Picture, they gave it the Best Picture award. This was a movie that was one of the most incredible cinematic things I had ever seen. Especially, I know there's a lot of debate about the second half of the movie when he actually gets on the spaceship, but the first half is absolutely perfect. It does amazing things with visuals and nonverbal communication and and everything about the movie, and especially when you see that the movie got, I believe it got seven Oscar nominations,
Amazing.
including like it should have. I'm sorry, I like Slumdog Millionaire, but it should have won sound. It should have won. It
Yeah.
should have won sound for Ben Burt and what he does with the sound, with especially with Wally's voice in that movie is and Eve's voice as well. Um, it breaks my heart that it didn't get in, and especially when you look at the reader. Oh my God, is that movie awful? I hated that movie so much, and the fact that that got in, Harvey Weinstein over Wally, pisses me off to no end, and I will never forgive anyone for that.
You know what?
Tony, number
I
two.
think. Well,
Oh,
before you go,
go
Tony,
please,
I
Rob.
just want to say there are three animated films I think that have made it into Best Picture: Up, Toy Story 3, and Beauty and the Beast. And I think Wally's better than all three of those. And I just don't really understand why it didn't make it in. I'll never get over it either, Charles. It's a really good choice. Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
My number two is another one that might be considered snub adjacent, but you know what? I don't care. It's our show, so I can do what I want to. Um, I will never get over Charlize Theron not even being nominated for Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, yes.
One of my favorite, like probably in my top 10 of all time films, and a film that got six Oscars, and Charlize Theron wasn't even nominated. And I'm going to leave out the fact that I think Mad Max should have been the best picture that year. I think George Miller should have won Best Director. I love that film with every fiber of my being, and that movie does not work without the absolute stunning work of Charlize Theron. I think she's better in that movie than in her Oscar-winning performance in Monster.
I
Wow, that's a
agree.
declaration.
I think it's a career best performance too, Tony, and the Australian film industry really thanks you for raising it because it is an all-timer. And yes, it won six Oscars. It should have won visual effects as well. No disrespect to Ex Machina, and it should have won director and picture. And Charlize Theron should have been nominated at the very least. What a disgrace! Totally agree. Now, my number. Speaking of Australia,
I'm a big spotlight defender, but I absolutely will second George Miller should have won directing. I
yeah,
mean, that movie
yeah.
is impeccably directed.
And coming from you, Charlie, it means a lot because I know how much you really love Spotlight, and we're very happy when it won Best Picture, and that's totally cool. Speaking of Australians, my number two is Nicole Kidman in 1995 for To Die For. That was back when Nicole
Oh, I
Kidman wasn't
forgot
quite the
about that
big.
one.
Yeah, like
Damn it.
what? How ridiculous to not be so she was so bold, hilarious, genuinely quite terrifying, a huge departure from her previous roles. She won the Golden Globe, the Critics' Choice. She received a BAFTA nomination. That she was primed for it. Then the 1995 Best Actress lineup was actually really strong, so I'm not taking anything away from Susan Sarandon, Elizabeth Shue, Sharon Stone, Meryl Streep, Emma Thompson, but I was so devastated for her. She wasn't the big movie star that she is now. Back then, she was still emerging as a very huge name, but not quite there yet. And I thought at the time, it's never going to happen for Nicole, our Nicole. That's what we call her here in Australia, our Nicole. It's never going to happen for her. Like she just doesn't have the clout or the gravitas that is required to break through in the United States. Well, I was obviously very wrong. We talked about her a couple of weeks ago with our Oscar wins that don't make any sense with her win for The Hours. She should have won for this. This is her performance. This is her best ever work. And she wasn't even freaking nominated. What a joke.
It's very interesting. I guess all of our number twos have an Australian theme to them because my number two is Naomi Watts in 2001, Best Actress for
Oh,
Mulholland Drive. I mean, dear God, that performance is so incredible on so many levels. You don't even have to understand what the fuck is happening in Mulholland Drive, and no one really does. I think most of us have an idea of what's happening, but especially when you get to that last, I want to say like 30 minutes of the movie, when you realize the level of performance that she is giving in this movie is absolutely incredible. Um, I mean, this movie. There's a reason this movie is widely regarded as the best movie. As it's like in the top three of every critics list of or compilation critics list of the best movies of this century so far.
Yep.
And before Parasite, it was probably that and In the Mood for Love are like the default number ones for that. And so much of that hinges. I mean, a lot of it comes from David Lynch's directing and the way he structured the story, but it all hinges on Naomi Watts' incredible performance. And this was a statement. Also, this was a look who this person is, because she was not known to American audiences the way she was. She was known in Australia at the time, right, Rob?
Yeah. Yes, correct. Absolutely.
So she was known
Completely right.
there, but I mean, this was just. I mean, and how great would that have been to see former roommates Nicole Kidman and Naomi Watts together at the Oscars, both as nominees for Best Actress? That would have been great. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, her performance in that movie is astounding, and it should piss off a lot of people that she wasn't nominated.
Yeah.
Tony,
Good one.
number one.
Okay, a couple of honorable mentions. Molly Shannon not getting nominated for Other People, when
Oh
she won
God,
the Spirit Award. That movie broke me. Um,
yeah, say
uh, Zendaya for Challengers, the one of the
Yeah.
best anti-heroine performances I've ever seen, plus the score. Um,
Yeah.
Penelope Cruz, I thought, gave an amazing performance in Ferrari, a film that didn't,
Agree.
I don't think, got the attention it deserved. But my number one is Robin Williams for 1 Hour Photo.
Oh my
Now,
God. Oh my
let
God.
me.
That's his best performance.
Yeah.
So, as somebody my age who grew up with Mork and Mindy and grew up with Robin Williams, you know, just ascending to stardom. I was 14 years old when Mrs. Doubtfire came out, and many of us just thought of him as a comedian, and we knew he had dramatic, abilities. Um, and we saw that when he won the Oscar for Good Will Hunting. But my God, his performance as Cy Parrish in 1 Hour Photo is so haunting and chilling because he is a psychopath, but he's also a psychopath that you understand by the end. He becomes so childlike. His scene opposite Eric LaSalle in the interrogation room is just breaks your heart into a million pieces. And what pisses me off is that it was ignored by so many people. But he did get in at the Critics' Choice, and one of my favorite clips is Daniel Day Lewis and Jack Nicholson tied for Best Actor that year. And Robin Williams comes up because Jack Nicholson is bombed out of his mind. He is so high. Um, he is so baked, and he says as much that Robin Williams comes up and does like this interpretation. He's like the sign language interpreter for Jack Nicholson. Um, and ironically, this is going to raise some eyebrows. You thought my previous take was a big deal. That Best Actor lineup of Adrian Brody and Michael Caine and Nicolas Cage and Jack Nicholson and Daniel Day Lewis, I would actually take out the winner, Adrian Brody, and put Robin Williams in. And I think that would be an all time, what was already a great Best Actor lineup would be even better.
I would take out
Wow.
Daniel Day Lewis and put in Robin Williams, and that would be an extraordinary lineup. No, you're absolutely right. I love that. That was an interesting year for Robin Williams because his two big movies that year were that, and then the other sinister role in Insomnia,
Insomnia, where
which
he should have been
he's
Oh,
nominated too.
so
yeah,
good.
that for best supporting actor, he's incredible in that movie. And but in between those, you had his live on Broadway special aired on HBO, and that was a cultural moment. Um, just absolutely astounding. I love that performance so much. Rob, number one.
Yeah, I just got to say, like, when talking about Robin Williams, firstly, it just brings so much sadness that he's gone, and secondly, I remember when he didn't get any traction for 1 Hour Photo back in the day. You can see, you sometimes still have those memories just from feelings, and I remember feeling so crap about that. So good one. Okay, I have a few also Rans that I just have to bring up because otherwise they'll be snubbed again. So Tom Hanks has no business complaining about Oscars, but in 2013, I feel like he should have been nominated for Captain Phillips because that final scene when he's rescued breaks me every freaking time, man. And he
Mm-hmm.
I
should
really hate myself
be.
right now. I so hate myself right now for
Yeah,
forgetting
same,
that.
same.
That's why I just wanted to bring it up. And apologies if any of these are what you're going to say next, Charles, but also Daniel Bruhl for Rush in 2013 as well should have been nominated. He got a lot of precursors and he just got snubbed.
You got
Lupita
it everywhere.
Nyong'o, yeah, Lupita Nyong'o in 2019 for Us. City of God in Best Foreign Language Film in 2002. The Dark Knight in 2008. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind in 2004. Andy Serkis for The Two Towers in 2002. I get it. Motion capture's never going to make it in, but I just felt like that one was the one time when maybe he could have broken through. But no surprises. My number one and always will be another Australian is Tony Collette in Hereditary. What a stellar performance showcasing extreme grief, rage, psychological unraveling. It was staggering to me and astonishing that she was able to give this performance. It's her career best. She's never been nominated since her turn in The Sixth Sense, which was a surprise nomination back then, and one that one of my favorite nominations of all time because her scene in the car with Haley Joel Osment is whew, so good. I get goosebumps when I think about it. Hereditary is my favorite horror film. It's it's a masterpiece. Ari Aster really knocked it out of the park. She garnered wins at Critics' Choice, Gotham, Independent Spirits, but then she started to miss at the Globes, at SAG, and at BAFTA, so we knew it was coming. And we know that there's a genre bias, which is why I want Amy Madigan to take that Oscar in Toni Collette's name, and maybe they just don't see horror as real serious cinema. But Toni Collette in Hereditary is my number one snub of all time, and it still really, really pisses me off.
I am your mother. Just my God, yeah, just out of this world.
With that face on your face.
Yeah.
Also, the other lesson from Hereditary: if you see Ann Dowd, run.
Run. Run.
I probably had a ton of honorable mentions, but one I will give out as an honorable mention: Isabella Rossellini for Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
At least that's one thing where we can at least say thank God for the Indie Spirit Awards because she did win the female lead category there that year. So she at least has some hardware for that incredible performance. My number one is it's kind of where you were on a couple of years, Tony, where you were like, I don't know if you would say this was an actual snub. Uh, but it's one where again, like with Wally, I think based on the nominations, there was a path for it. And that is in 2006, Best Picture. It's not Dreamgirls, although Dreamgirls was snubbed. It's United 93. United 93 is not only the best movie, is not only the best movie of that year. It is not only the best movie of that decade. It is the best movie of the century. And I say that loving Mulholland Drive and loving Parasite, but I have never ever had an experience in a movie theater like watching United 93. It hinges on so much. And we saw it did get in for directing for Paul Greengrass, a very deserved nomination, and it got in for film editing, which are two of the aspects of which that movie hinges on, along with the performances of the people in that movie. I really think I what would have been an inspired nomination that year would have been to nominate it at SAG Ensemble because the performances of everybody in that movie is absolutely impeccable. And remember, this was only 5 years after the events of 9/11. We were still in the throes of the Iraq War, and it was something to make this movie in that documentary style that Paul Greengrass has perfected, and not be this whole like why we fight type thing. It was a brutal, honest look at these this group of ordinary people put in the most extraordinary situation. That is, I truly believe that's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I don't think it gets enough due. I was actually when that New York Times piece came out. Was it earlier this year? The piece where they had all the people rank their best of the century so
Yeah.
far. Not only was United 93 on there, there was only one person when I was looking at the individual lists that had United 93 on their list. Surprisingly, was John Waters, of all people. And I think he also had Dancer in the Dark on there. So, like, it's one of
He's
the
got
most incredible.
context.
It's one of the most incredible movies I've ever seen. And I got to give BAFTA credit on this. In the year where we were all saying, for the love of God, enough, just give the fucking thing to Martin Scorsese. BAFTA gave their Best Director award to Paul Greengrass that year, and that is one of the best decisions I've seen by an awards body ever. United 93 in Best Picture should have been nominated. One of the best. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. That's a real good one. Well, that was a really interesting conversation. Thanks, guys, so much. It's really opened my eyes to a lot of performances and films and achievements that I want to
Did we
revisit.
have any overlap on that? Did we have any
We
overlap?
had
I
zero.
don't
I
think we
thought we
had
were going to
any
have
overlap.
overlap. We had zero overlap, even with our honorable mentions. So that's great. I always wonder if that's going to happen, and it didn't. So that's really
Which
cool.
is just a sign that, remember, the Oscars are not the do not dictate what is good and what is not good.
The views of Tony
Oscar
Ruiz do not
winners come
reflect the
and
reviews of
go.
the Awards Heaven podcast.
Exactly. Look, it's the Oscars are really good as a time capsule for each year. It's a historical artifact, but it does not necessarily mean because a film or a performance didn't make it in that it wasn't good. And it's really, really good and healthy that we can talk about this and get cranky about things and grumpy about things that miss out because of our passion for film. On that note, thanks everyone for joining us. We will be back next week for more. Thank you so much for staying with us over this January. I think this is episode 9. We'll be back next week for episode 10. Already at 10, and plenty more to come. Everyone have a great week. Look after yourselves and see you next time.